Did you see the news about Ukraine? Yeah, I just don't know how much it, like, means. I mean, how much can you really expect from this guy, right? Putin declares brief Easter ceasefire in war with Ukraine. Kiev responds skeptically. I would also respond skeptically. You know that Russian proverb, Chinese final warning? They probably have a Ukrainian proverb, you know? Russian ceasefire. Pretty sure they already broke it. It's been 1 hour, okay?
Guided by humanitarian considerations, the Russian side is declaring an Easter ceasefire from 6 p.m. today to midnight from Sunday to Monday. I order that all
How can he have broken it? It's not even the day yet.
hostilities be halted for this period. We assume that the Ukrainian side will follow our example.
Yeah. It's very obviously just a, we were so nice we stopped firing for a bit, but the devilish and perfidious Ukrainians fired during the ceasefire, blah 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 blah. Right, yeah, no, it doesn't matter. We assume the Ukrainian side will follow our example. He's just looking for another excuse, another pretext, another whatever, it doesn't matter. I meant this Ukrainian news. The US will abandon efforts to end the Ukraine war without meaningful progress in the next several days. Ha! It never would have happened without me. We're going to end it. We're going to end it on day one. We give up. Masterful negotiation, sir, as always. Art of the deal. Do you think Ukraine will survive until 2028? Yeah, of course. Russia doesn't have the gas to take all of Ukraine. The question is whether or not Russia can continue to make middling gains in and past the Donbass. Where are we at right now with the front lines? Live UA map. Russia. No. Give me the... Wait, not Russia. Ukraine. Obviously Ukraine, not Russia. There we go. Basically no progress. Yeah, Jesus, no kidding. Can we get the... Here, time? Okay, right now it's April 19th. If we go back to 2024... We'll just say the beginning of 2024. That's the same line. Yep, same line. That's the same line. All right. Okay. Catch up. Important to note, no gains despite higher Russian aggression and manpower. Yeah, not to mention they've had help from the North Koreans. I mean, artillery rearmament, some soldiers. Yeah, it seems like it's an interminable stalemate. Have you seen, like, satellite photos of what this area looks like? You could walk 1 mile in any direction and die to a landmine. It's all mines and trenches. This is like, I don't like at this point, I don't know what military could, like you would need overwhelming air superiority and that shit's expensive, you know? That land gain as World War I is Yeah, I remember reading a big Twitter post like a year ago, which I think I agree with, which is basically that in this current era of warfare, unless one side can establish total air superiority or use nukes, which isn't happening here in either case, drones have essentially made World War I style combat again, you know? Because, like, if you think about it logically, right, like, trenches made sense, long rifles, machine guns, tanks and air power broke through trenches, right? You move forward from there. But now you run it back, and it's like drones basically invalidate tanks unless you have really, really good like really good air control. Not even just air control. You need better than... I don't know if there's a counter right now to drone warfare. Because, like, you literally just need... Like... Wow, tanks are obsolete. It's not that tanks are obsolete necessarily. It's that if you remove the tank as the front wall of an armed offensive, you go back to the damn trenches. Again, unless you have massive air control. If you have air superiority, like with the United States, what do we do when we want to bomb Yemen? We don't send tanks in or whatever. We fire missiles and artillery. Well, we don't use artillery as much, but you know, and planes and drones and so on. But yeah, no, it seems like we're back to trenches. Doesn't Ukraine have air superiority with what we've given them? Oh God, no. Air superiority is not. Air superiority is a whole goddamn. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. Anti-air is exponentially cheaper than air, right? Like, the machinery that you need to shoot down a plane is much cheaper than the plane. Unless you have aircraft that can effectively avoid like all four. I mean, if you have like stealth bombers, but like now we're talking like way past the scope for Ukraine and Russia. And we don't even know. Like, it is entirely possible that if we went to war with China, we would send in our fancy stealth bombers and China would be like lol, comma, Lamau, and send like Mach 8 drones at them. I don't know. Nobody knows. We don't really have modern warfare at that level, right? It's possible, yeah, like F-35s would just be obliterated by some like $2 million bomb, which is like, okay, that then I guess back to nukes and trench warfare. All we know from the Russia-Ukraine conflict is that absent top of the line air control or whatever, this is what war looks like now. And it's wretched. It's miserable. Just artillery shells and trenches and mines everywhere. Look at this. These are Russian trenches built in Ukraine. These are trenches, modern trenches. They are exactly the same as they were in World War I. This is exactly the same as they were in World War I. This might as well be like a photograph from 100 years ago. The only difference now, I guess, is that people aren't getting trench foot because we have better sanitation and so on. But like, Jesus, maybe they are getting trench foot. I don't know. I bet the Russians do. Yeah. Does this ruin the fertility of the land? Depends on whether or not it's just shells falling or like if people are dying, because people are probably good fertilizer. It's just crazy. We're building trenches at air bases. Well, this is from 2022, I guess, so kind of early on. Modern aircraft are just used as missile carriers. Yeah, missiles are too OP, basically. Anyway, I guess what I'm saying is that there is absolutely no chance of Russia conquering Ukraine. I actually think at this point, even if America started supplying arms to Russia against Ukraine, they still wouldn't be able to do it. This is like a no man's land 100 miles wide that I don't know anyone could. I don't think Russia could cross this. I just don't. I don't think it's reasonable. They're building the Maginot Line 2.0 in the Baltics. Shouldn't they be dedicating more of their GDP to making Disco Elysium 2? I just hope it ends soon in Ukraine's favor. There is basically no chance of Ukraine retaking the Donbass and Crimea. That was a tall order even back when we were supplying them weapons. Maybe if we had acted very quickly, given them like HIMARS rockets like from the get-go and supplied them heavily, reactivated our arms production so that we could supply them, really commit to it, we could have. But honestly, even like after the first 6 months of warfare, I'm pretty sure the trenches got built up to a point where the likelihood of any real advancing in either direction became impossible. I don't know. Politically, I did support, the retaking of the Donbass, but we're obviously quite a bit past that at this point, Baltics can't be properly protected. The Baltics are in NATO. So, even if America is effectively not a part of NATO anymore, like that would trigger an arms response from the rest of NATO. Like from France, at least. Yeah, but NATO is dead. No, America is dead. The rest of Europe does not want Russia advancing further west. Trust me. Have you been seeing the defense stocks in like German military industrial companies lately? These motherfuckers, I promise you, they have not wavered at all in their support of Ukraine. And NATO does have nukes even without us. Problem is Russia will overrun Baltics and NATO. I don't think Russia could overrun the Baltics. Like, I don't think Russia has overrun anything at any point. Russia only succeeded in making one quick advance one time in this entire conflict, and it was 3 days in. They led a gigantic armored convoy down from Belarus to try to capture Kiev, remember? They came down from here, right? And the convoy steamed out like 90 miles from the not 90, I guess, like 40 miles from the capital. Everything apart from that has been slow, grinding, World War I style, artillery and so on and so forth. Russia took Crimea and the Donbass, though. Yeah, but that wasn't a quick overwhelm. That wasn't what that was. Crimea was just annexed. There was no military resistance there at all. And the Donbass fell not from Russian invasion, but from paid separatists in the region back when Ukraine effectively had no military. And then later, backed up by the Russian military. And then later, with the formal invasion of Ukraine. But yeah, Ukraine didn't have an army, really, when that happened. Everything since then has been slow and grinding. Theoretically, if NATO directly intervened, do you think they could break the stalemate? Well, concerns about nuclear war aside, I don't think so, no. Guys, it's really difficult to deal with stuff like this, you know? This is a tough situation. Like, military, like, this is a very difficult... This is a very, very difficult thing to do. The most you could hope for, I think, would be to blitz Russia, Moscow, whatever, and force them to retreat. But I don't think you could do that just by fighting here, because Russia does not give a shit about its soldiers. They just get sent home in more zinc coffins, you know? The goal would be to force the Russian government to pull their troops back, not to just kill more Russian soldiers. Because you could kill so many Russian soldiers before they would relent. He would throw so many people, so many conscripts in Ukraine. Did you read that Trump is recognizing Crimea as part of Russia? Yeah, that seems like the sort of thing our administration would do. Unfortunately, there's basically no way Ukraine gets Crimea back, but that doesn't mean you have to recognize Crimea as part of Russia. You can just say it's illegally held territory, like, indefinitely. It does look a little bit pastel, that flag, doesn't it? Our plans are measured in centuries. In 200 years, Crimea will be returned. Oh, I'm sure. Anyway, I don't know. I'm not too worried about Ukraine in the long run, because I have not felt like they've been credible. I'm sorry, I don't want to sound callous, okay? Ukrainians will continue to experience terror and uncertainty for a long, long time. What I mean to say is that I am unconvinced of Russia's ability to meaningfully advance beyond this point, even without American support to Ukraine, or even with American support to Russia. It seems like we have a real, like, honest-to-God World War I trench-style stalemate here. They've been advancing the whole time. No, they haven't. Again, we just did the time comparison. Look at the red. Red shaded here is Russian-controlled territory. Let's go back 1 year. So we'll do that again. So we're now, right now, this is, well, actually, it's not 1 year. It's 1 year, 4 months ago. So now we're going to advance 1 year, 4 months into the future. You're zoomed out? Yeah? I'm sorry, are we going to argue that, like, a gain of a mile or two in a year and a half with modern armed war? Bro, we're not fighting on horseback, okay? A person in a vehicle can travel half the distance of Ukraine in 1 day. Like, if a year and 4 months in Russia has stalled to this point, like, here. Well, okay, we can look right here. Here, look at this portion of the front line right here, okay? Here, right on the edge of the Donbass, okay? I'm going to go back. Going back to the beginning of 2024. Okay, there. That's what they did. That's also basically the biggest movement that we've seen. It took them nearly 1.5 years to move. Where's the key? 5 miles into the country at one point. Don't worry, guys. Another 40 years and they might make it to Kiev. Wait, hold on. 5 miles for every year and 4 months. Well, it'll take a bit. I'm not doing that math. They just need to keep striking at Russia's oil reserves and gas industries to cripple the economy. Yes, I agree. That is an excellent thing that they did. People were saying last year they were on the verge of taking Pokrovsk, and that still hasn't happened. Yeah, I'm not downplaying the threat that Russia poses or anything like that. I'm just indicating that it seems like the conditions of this war have, like, stalled immensely. There, now we're back to the present. What are those blue things? That's water. Oh, yeah, well, hold on. In response to this phony stalemate, I want to listen to Zelensky. Just received a report from Commander-in-Chief Oleksandr Syrskyi. Today, our forces continue their activity on the territory of the Kursk region and are holding their positions. In the Belgorod region, our warriors have advanced and expanded our zone of control. Camera, my man, just FYI. You people are so annoying. I can't do shit. As for yet another attempt by Putin to play with human lives, at this moment, air raid alerts are spreading across Ukraine. At 17:15, Russian attack drones detect in our skies. Sky drones in our skies reveal Putin's true attitude towards Easter and toward human life. Yeah, I don't know. I have a feeling that there's a little bit of a falling out. I don't get it. Does Vosh not understand during World War I that the line did not move after the first 4 weeks of the conflict in the Western Front until 4 years of grinding conflict eventually wore the Germans out? I'm not entirely sure what point you're trying to make or why you're making it in a condescending way. Why are you talking like I'm not in the room? What do you... Hey, when Vosh evokes World War I, as an argument towards the Ukraine-Russia war being like slow, intractable, stalemate, mines, trenches. Is he not aware of the fact that World War I was largely a, trench warfare, slow, intractable, mine, stalemate? What are you talking about? I'm right here. I feel like there's been a real falling out between Putin and Trump. Trump obviously wanted like a day one victory with Ukraine by ending the conflict, which is what he was able to negotiate with Netanyahu. Remember when Netanyahu faked a ceasefire, like right at the beginning of Trump's victory, right? Like after the election, but before the inauguration. Remember that? He obviously wanted a big day one win, but he didn't get it, like, at all. And Trump hasn't been speaking positively about Putin as much lately. Yeah, honestly, I think so. My honest to God guess is that Putin, who is smart, probably played Trump up pretty well during his first term, but now Trump needs something from Putin, right? I need you to at least, like, pretend to end the war for a bit. Putin doesn't want to, obviously, because he has his own ambitions, his own concerns, and that annoys Trump. And as a consequence, he's kind of pulling out of the conflict altogether. Hands off or whatever. He's not getting that victory. But there are a lot of people in the Trump administration who are just like pro-Russia. So that doesn't mean the administration isn't going to still support Russia, but Trump himself has really backed off on the positive talk. That's interesting. Biggest indicator of Trump being a complete idiot. Oh, Trump is genuinely very stupid. He loves getting passed around by all these big, strong authoritarian daddies. That's true. Doesn't matter if Trump doesn't like Putin, but the administration does. Yeah, I mean, Trump's the only person who holds, like, public favor, so it's kind of like a mascot thing.